Alright, what's up everyone? I'm Ace Aura. I make melodic dubstep, melodic rhythm, whatever you would like to call it. Basically, I try to fuse the melodic side of dubstep with like the heavier side of dubstep, like the rhythm kind of stuff, and like fuse it into my own thing. I'm going to be breaking down two of my tracks today, Rise and Cybercuddle, and Unreleased. So I'm going to go ahead and just play a little bit of Rise so you get a feel of what that sounds like, and then I will break it down and show you what I did and why I did it and all of that jazz. Alright, that's Rise. You get the gist of it. I'm going to go into breaking it down now. I'm going to read through this first. Can you go over mix downs? Yes, I will definitely go over the mixing decisions I made in this track and all of that jazz. Congrats on graduating. Thank you, Mickey. I hope you're doing well. It's been a while. What's good, Eric? Is there a bug with the convolution reverb decay? Yes, there is. You probably saw me editing that just now. Whenever it starts out, I think it defaults to whatever like 50% or whatever the default is, and you have to go in and like change the value a little bit and a little bit to like get it back to where you had it. I had to do that on both of these that I used it on. I don't know why it does that, but every time I open a project with that convolution reverb in it, I have to like reset the values, and it's pretty dang silly. CPU be crying. Yeah. It was weird. I tested it earlier today and it was fine, and then my CPU just completely pooped itself and went to like 200, and I was like, what's going on? And then it like fixed itself. I don't know. Anyway, yeah, so this song was... So most of my songs, if you've been a fan of mine for a while, or kind of like know why I make music and that kind of thing, most of the songs I make come from like something I've experienced in life or I am currently experiencing, and that's what I'll like write my songs after. So Rise was kind of about me not really feeling like I was where I should be in life for my age, and especially with like the stages coming up, like about to graduate college, wanting to do music as my full-time thing and not really seeing that as like a reasonable thing at the time. That's becoming more and more of like a reasonable thing to me as time goes on. But like I just felt like I wanted to be more and wanted to do more, and there were just so many areas of life I felt like I was lacking. And so I wrote Rise as a way to express that, and making like proclaiming that I wanted to like rise up and like be better in all these different areas. But you've got a lot of symbolism in this track, like life being a fight. There's a lot of like sword sounds and like shouts and all that kind of stuff. You can hear the different like vocals leading to different sections, and those are all meant to like symbolize the same theme. But I got this kind of going on in some of the bridge sections or like verses. But yeah, just like stuff. There's a lot in this song, in this effects section in particular, to just build that atmosphere and kind of convey the emotion that I'm trying to get across in the song. I feel like in dubstep, there's a lot of good artists just everywhere, but I feel like there aren't a lot of people that are really focusing on like expression. There's a lot of focus on sound design and who can make the coolest thing, which is a form of expression, don't get me wrong. But like I feel like there's so much more to be explored as far as how can I convey a particular emotion using this like palette of sounds, that sort of thing. But that's something that I really like to explore. But anyway, I'm going to play this effects section before I ramble on forever, and just so you can get like a sense of the background and what's going on. Because the background really sets the scene for the rest of the song and what it should feel like and how to interpret it. No, I'll start here. There's waves crashing and stuff. But yeah, so much of this song, much more than a lot of my others, is just atmosphere. Like it's about building a vibe more than big, thick dubstep. I guess that's the drop, but you know. I'm gonna continue reading these comments to make sure I'm not missing questions. Workflow tips. I might be able to cover some workflow tips. Yeah. Streaming too. Nice UI. Yeah, I have a Max for Live plugin. I will show that once I get to the drop. I'm still working on it, but at some point I might release it and like sell it or whatever. I love that outlook. Thank you. I appreciate it. Struggle trying to make emotion sounding song. Yeah, that's the main thing I want to cover in this, is how to convey an emotion through dubstep, because I feel like a lot of unexplored territory is still there. Anyway, but that's the effects section. As you can hear, a lot of the song's feel comes from that. If I take it out, then the intro sounds like this. It's just the one bass sound. But yeah, as you can hear, the effects is like the whole intro. Like it just does not feel the same without it. Like it would do a better job to serve the song if I just had the effects here rather than if I just had the melodic stuff here. It's like contributes so much to the feel, and it's something that I think it's really easy to overlook when you're earlier on in the production journey, because it's like, how do I get my melody sounding good, or how do I get my drum sounding good? But I think it's really easy to forget that we are making music, but it's not really about the sound. It's about the feel and the emotion. And like music wouldn't be music unless we felt something from it. And I think it's easy to focus on the sound when you're starting out rather than the feel. But anyway, I'm rambling now. I think I just said the same thing like 3 times. That's the intro. What time is it? It's 9:09. I can just slow myself down. I'm gonna like speed through the track at this rate, but of course I'll be totally open to like answering questions and stuff. But yeah, the intro is very simple as far as the melodic elements. There is this serum patch that is the bass. I didn't even EQ it, apparently. I don't remember this, but why is it opening on that screen? It's literally just detuned saws with a low pass. I probably multiband compressed it. Nope. It's just detuned saws and a low pass. Very simple. This is what's called a Hong drum. It is one of my favorite instruments. I think my number 1 favorite's got to be the marimba, but this is probably second. It's like a big metal drum that's like dented. It's really hard to explain because this picture isn't really what I envisioned when I think of this kind of drum. But it's like a dented metal thing. Just look up Hong drum, H-A-N-G, drum, and you'll see exactly what I'm looking at. But it's this. So this plugin that I'm using for the sound has built-in reverb, and so I think that's the ambience thing. Yeah, so there's built-in reverb in here, and then I've also got a ping pong delay. That's every beat going left and right. Pretty simple stuff. And then what is this? This is the piano right before the build. Yeah, very simple, but it does a lot to like create the feel of the song, just the big atmospheric feel of it. Again, just it's about feel. Valhalla Shimmer is an absolutely excellent reverb. It's only like $50, and it is one of the best like ways that you can spend $50. Valhalla Shimmer and Valhalla Room are amazing reverbs. It's like a reverb, but if you blew it up to like times 20, like without it, it just makes it feel like you're in space. I love this reverb. But yeah, I would definitely invest in this. I think as a producer, it can be easy to base your not your value, but like say, have the mental process of, if I have more plugins, I can make better music, which usually you're going to want to develop better skills rather than buy more tools, because that's going to get you way farther. You'll notice that most of the stuff I'm using is just Serum and stock Ableton. But anyway, Valhalla Shimmer is one of those things that I would absolutely invest in, regardless of your skill level, because it is like, it's got a sound that no other like stock reverb or anything has, and it's going to really bring a cool feel to your tracks if you're going for that like atmospheric vibe. There's a very simple drum loop in the intro, halfway in. It's just a break loop that I have. I think I might have slowed it down a lot. I don't remember what the original tempo was, but I warped it basically to fit the tempo of the song, but I didn't warp everything to fit. I wanted to make sure there's still like a little human element, so you'll notice that not everything is right on beat. Like some of the drum hits feel a little bit early and some a little bit late and that kind of thing. And it feels much more natural that way. If everything's right on, it just doesn't feel like a human's playing it. But I've got Valhalla Room, the other Valhalla reverb that I have on here, and it's really nice to give it that feel of being in like a drum room. But you'll notice that like almost everything in this intro has a little bit of reverb on it, or no, really a lot of reverb on it. Again, just building the atmosphere. And you'll notice that you can't really hear this drum loop very well. It's really just to give it that kind of rhythmic element and keep things moving forward. Another element that does that is in the effects section. I took a Xylent impact sound. And then looped a part of it, and that kind of gives it that triplet, the triplet sound. Did I do some weird math here? I don't remember. No, it's at 150. It could have been a thing where it was in like 16th notes, or like, and I did some like math to make it fit, but I didn't. I just dropped in the loop and then duplicated the end. But yeah, that's really the intro. Let me read through these comments and see if there's anything I can cover in this section. What was your process of inventing melodic rhythm? The word invent is a little bit weird, just because I feel like it's hard to say you invented something when you're talking about music at all. Just the way the human brain works, we can't invent things out of thin air. Things come from inspirations we've had, from experiences we've had, that sort of thing. And so I took influences from a lot of different styles of music that I enjoyed and kind of made the melodic rhythm style like as a conglomeration of those things. It was something like, the idea of melodic rhythm is something I had in my head ever since I first heard Skrillex's Scary Monsters and Nice Sprites back in 8th grade. And I was like, what would this like growly sound like if it was like a chord? And then in like 2018 is where I first started doing this kind of thing. And I was like, so like I literally got chills when I made my first like melodic rhythm type sound. I think I might have it. Here, would it be ASORS samples, sound design, chops? It was this.
Make your music stand out, get more views, and way more engagement. Bring your music to life. Get Music Visualizer. In every format, even for social media. Get started today. The link is in the description.
I was messing around with Ableton's Resonators and Granulator 2, and I started making these things. this one. I think making this one was like the first time where I really kind of like found my vibe. Like I made that loop and I was like, all right, this is what I'm going for. I can show you, actually no, I won't take away from breaking down this song, but look up my remix of Flame by Copper Knob. It should be on SoundCloud. Like look up Copper Knob Flame ASOR remix. But that is where I first like did the melodic rhythm thing, and I was like, or the melodic dubstep resonator bass thing, and I was like, all right, this is what I'm gonna do. Let me beta test for you. You got it, dude. I will totally send it to you. I'm guessing you're talking about the Max for Live device. Do you consider music to have a connection to the artist than just combining or layering sounds all together? Absolutely. That is how I write music. Like, my inspirations come from my relationship with God. I'm a Christian. That's a really big part of what I do as a musician. Life experiences I've had, different things that are like giving me emotional or mental trouble. I'll write about those kind of things and just like express myself through music. I feel like there's not really another medium. Like I can express myself through words, but it just doesn't feel real until it's like in music, you know? I also enjoy producing just for fun. Like not everything I make is like based on an experience, but I think my favorite things are for sure. What else is there? What other media inspires you to write? Movies, shows, books. Visual art is really interesting. I really like the cyberpunk and like more futuristic style of art. I have not played Cyberpunk 2077 before anyone asks. It looks like an interesting game though. But yeah, that art style really inspires my sound. You'll definitely see that from the next song I break down. This one is literally a little bit less inspired by that kind of music. But this was, I guess the other one was written earlier, now that I think about it. But I've been kind of pushing my sound into more of a futuristic kind of hard wave style in combination with melodic rhythm and dubstep and that kind of thing. I'll show you that in the next song. But I'm really trying to like experiment with that. I think I'm going to make that my thing in the coming year at least. What's your approach of blending these kind of chill intros and melodic and transitioning the heavy drop? Well, I can show you that right now, actually. That's a perfect segue. Thanks. So, this is one thing I like to do. That reverb tail is so long. One thing I really like to do is to have a section that's like more quiet before I go into the build, because it gives that sense of contrast. Like you've got this kind of quiet section, then it gets a little bit louder, 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 up until the drop, a little bit of silence before the drop, and then the drop hits. I think having that perfect balance of repetition of sections with dropping certain things out and having more silence and more variation, that creates a sense of interest because, face it, it's 2020. People have baby mode attention spans, and so you've got to do a lot of variation to keep people like engaged in your songs, which is fun. I mean, I enjoy it. I'm just not the type of person to listen to like progressive house all the time where not much changes for a long time, and I don't know. But anyway, I like to do a quieter section before the build. This is what that is. So this again is very much atmosphere based. I think almost everything here is in the effects. Like the only things, yeah, it's literally just the bass and the piano other than the effects. That is super duper simple. But this is where the vocal is first introduced, I believe. Where is it? Is it this one? It's this one, I think. We rise. It's just a splice sample, but I think I had to do something weird to the end. Yeah, the S. I think like there was something weird with the sample to where I like didn't finish the word rise. And then I had to like splice it. No pun intended. I had to like splice it together with another S from earlier in the sample. When you rise. And so it was longer than I wanted it, and so I just took the S from here and just like put it together with what was before it, and then I crossfaded them together. You can kind of hear this a little bit weird, but in the context of the song, nobody is going to notice that. Is this a harmony? It is. It goes up at the end. Why is my CPU doing that? This isn't that difficult to run. Well, the drop will be because there's a lot of layers, but whatever. So yeah, that's how I put together the vocal for this song. Splice sample. Did I do any processing? Just Valhalla Shimmer, that reverb, and a low pass, so it didn't sound too bright or intense. And that's why I put the low pass, because otherwise it's just way too in your face. It needs to feel more atmospheric. Yeah, that's that. You've got this like battle sound in the background. I think I showed that earlier. Along with the big old impacts. The song's all about atmosphere. My dudes and dudettes and everything in between. This is a weird... I don't know why I decided to put this here. This isn't 100 beats per minute, and I did not change the tempo. I just kind of dropped it in. And it doesn't sound very rhythmic, and I think that's why it worked. Like, the percussive hits in it don't really feel like they're in a tempo, and so it just kind of worked to drop it in. Actually, no, this has 100. I did warp it to fit the tempo. Never mind. But it's like, it feels random, and so it doesn't feel super like... It's not adding a sense of rhythmic pulse to the song. It's like a background thing. There's this big vocal thing. I'll give you 5 seconds to guess what is on this track. Correct, Valhalla Shimmer. Yeah, that is like the whole song, basically. This is Valhalla Room. Oh, this is to add a little bit of texture to the impact. This is what it sounds like on its own. It's just like big gore impact thing, and it sounds really cool in tandem with these. Just adds a little bit of texture and kind of like thematic elements to the song about like the whole fighting and like that sort of thing. This leads into the build. Prepare to fight. I didn't even remember putting the vocoded thing under. You can barely hear it in the final mix. There's this apparently. Prepare to fight. That's kind of cool. Prepare to fight. I think that's the original, and this is the vocoded one. But anyway, those things lead into the build. Prepare to fight. So I will break that down a little bit. Question: how do you add emotion and mood to your music to set and continue on with the rest of your song? I think for me, most of the time it comes down to trying to figure out what I want to express through the song and figuring out elements I can put there that create the feel that I have in my head. If I'm getting your question right. Add emotion and mood to your music to set and continue on. Yeah, it's like figuring out what elements and what effects you can use to create a certain feel. Reverb just creates a sense of like bigness and depth, and that's kind of what I wanted the song to feel like. And so I used a lot of reverb on things just to give that feeling. The melodies are very simple and repetitive. I just wanted the song to like mostly just be carried by the feel and not by like the technicality of it. Well, there are a lot of layers in the drop. I'll get to that later. But I think a big part of it is just getting your mind off of what does the song sound like and getting it onto what does the song feel like. That's like the biggest thing. That's the best way I can express it. Silent may or may not be here in January. Wow, I'll have to watch that one. That's sick. Let me see. I'm reading on the rest. Would you care to explain how you get inspired by visuals? I just see something and it creates like a particular feel. I mean, like the futuristic art style, cyberpunk sort of thing just feels cool. It makes me like wonder. It gives me the sense of wonder, I guess, about the future and like what life would be in that style of like city or like world, and like try to write futuristic sounding music. I'll be able to express that better through the breakdown of the next song, because that's way more in that realm. Where do you get most of your samples from? Splice. And I make some. Oh, I'll be able to show that later on. I make a few vocal shouts and stuff. Yeah, I'll play the whole thing. You'll see what I'm talking about. Is there a certain structure you like to follow when you write, or do you just feel it out? At this point, I just feel it out, but definitely earlier on, as I was trying to learn the ropes of like how to create dubstep, I had to be much more intentional about making a structure that made sense. Usually you're going to have some sort of intro where you introduce the idea of the song, the concept, like the feel you're going for, and then you bring it to a build somehow, and then you build to a drop, and then you do another build, and a drop, and then like a bridge, and then a build, and a third drop. That's how dubstep is made now. I've noticed this is something that I've definitely adapted from. I used to do 32 bar drops pretty consistently, but I've noticed through attending and playing shows that people just stop dancing like halfway through the drop because they get tired, because people are wimps. And so you have to write 16 bar drops that build to another 16 bar drop. And that's why you're hearing that more and more. I think that's the main reason behind it. But I started to do that too, just because number one, I feel like that it breaks up the flow of the drop enough, and kind of like I was talking about before, people's attention spans are just tiny. It gives that sense of variation that's needed to keep interest in the song. But I do that with my drops, and I didn't used to. The eyebrows and never see few chokes. Yeah, you can tell that I'm like, please don't die on me. I'm streaming. You can't. Are you routing sidechain tracks through Ascend and then into the master? Yep, that's exactly what I'm doing. Actually, yes. Yes, sidechained. So everything that is in the groups other than the drums group is being sidechained. There are some things outside of those that are not being sidechained, that is intentional, and also kind of just messiness. I'll get to this later. I think I will. Oh yeah, this is just the glitch version of... Yeah, I'll get to that in a second. But yeah, so the drums group is not being sidechained. I don't sidechain my hi-hats or anything like that. Synths is being sidechained. You'll see it goes to sends only, and they're all being sent to this A sidechained thing. And then it is being sidechained by Shaperbox, which is being triggered by this MIDI up here. I don't know if you can see that very well, but they're just tiny MIDI notes that happen on the kicks and snares. Or really just the kicks, because this is rhythm. But yeah, that's how I do my sidechaining. It's fairly simple. When beginning a new track, what do you start with? It's different every time. Most of the time, it's going to be some sort of concept I'm trying to express. Unless I'm having some sort of writer's block, or I'm inspired by another musical piece, I'll make like a melody. Or sometimes it'll start with drop sound design, and I'll make like a bass sound, and I'm like, what would this sound like if I did this to it? I think that's what I did with the next track I'm going to show. Where it was like sound design, and then I branched it out into like an entire track. But honestly, it's like different every time. Whatever I feel inspired by, basically. Perhaps need to work on like cardio. Yeah, they need to work on cardio so they can go hard to 32 bar drops without passing out. Would you say 8 bar intro, 16 bar drops? My intros are usually a lot longer than 8 bars. This intro is a total of 32, I think. Yeah, it's a 32 at the bottom there. 32 bar drop, or intro, 16 drop, 8 build again, and then another drop, and then another 32. Oh, I did a 32 bar drop. Look at me. Any master chain tips / advice? My master chain is the simplest thing on the planet. There's a lot here that's not actually doing anything. I don't remember what this high pass is doing on here. It happens a little bit. Oh, there's like an effect in the second, or like the third drop, but that's very minor. It's an OTT at 3% wet, and a clip shifter, which is a soft clipper. Oh, I didn't even push it. Wow, I wrote this track really loud, so I didn't even have to push the soft clipper. But usually what I'll do is I'll write the track at normal human volumes. Oh yeah, I just did it here. I just boosted all these by 2. And so that would be the same as just boosting this thing by 2 decibels. But all it does is soft clip the track. I don't limit it. I like to soft clip it because you don't get compression artifacts and you get the most loudness you can like possibly get out of it. This ozone isn't doing anything. It's just to monitor RMS levels at the end. That's it. And then everything else is just to look at levels and stuff. But yeah, my master is literally just the 3% OTT and the soft clipper. But I will now go on to everybody's favorite part, the drop. That's the second drop. No. Rise, yeah. Get it! Gives me a mini heart attack every time the CPU does its thing. But yeah, you heard the drop in the first playthrough. There is a lot of layers. So let's just open all these up. There's a lot going on, but it's all kind of the same thing. Once we get to the second and third drops, there will be doing different things like harmonies and stuff. But in the first drop, it's basically the same lead melody line played on a ton of different instruments. And so there's this. Why? Marimba. My favorite instrument. Plus this one I made in Phase Plant. I don't use Phase Plant often. I was just messing around. I think I made this first in this song, actually. I think this is the first thing I did when making this song. I made this sound in Phase Plant. Cosmos put up a like teaser of a song that he made that was melodic rhythm and kind of had like, he showed the Ableton project and showed that he made it in Phase Plant, and I was like, I want to try that. And so I made a melodic rhythm sound in Phase Plant, and that's how this started, based off of that. The song was Distant Planets, I think, by Cosmos. I think that was the one, but it's on that EP. It's released on Halcyon. You should definitely check it out. It's real good. But this sound is, I think, what started the track. I've got this resonator sound that stays at the root note, C sharp, and then I've got one here that just moves around. It's being automated somehow. Oh, this note tracking thing. It's automating what note the resonator is at. So otherwise, it's just a very simple FM sound with noise on top of it to give it more, give the resonator more to work with, more to make resonate. And so it's this like sine-ish type thing being modulated by this saw, I believe. And then with the noise. That's not good. I don't know why it's doing that. But yeah, it's a pretty simple sound. With 2 dispersers on it, it gives it more of like a lasery sound. Let me see. It's much more straight without the dispersers, and this gives it like a pew pew at the beginning of every note. I think they're both at the same frequency, if I remember correctly. Yeah, I just duplicated them because I was like, I want more dispersion, and so I did that. This is the sound I used in Tongues of Fire, but heavily edited. Tongues of Fire is a song I released in 2018 on Rushdown that is also the same kind of like plucky melodic rhythm style. And so as I made this first sound and I was like, this is pretty staccato, I'm gonna just like take the same sound I made in Tongues of Fire, because I like to save iconic sounds that I've made. Like I saved the coma bass. I will show that. That's in drop 2 that I edited. Just kind of reused a lot of stuff I've already made. It saves a lot of time, and if I'm gonna end up making a similar sound anyway, why not just use what I've already put in hours to create, you know? So the root note, I made this super resonators rack just to make it easy to automate chord changes. And so the root note is changed with this macro, whether it's minor or major is changed with this. And the only difference between a major and a minor chord, if you're doing like regular triads, is that your third and seventh are just going to be like raised one or lowered one, depending on if it's minor or major. Minor, it'll be lowered one. Major, it'll be raised one. And so this controls these two, like the seventh and the third of the chord. The decay just controls how long it decays, that kind of thing. But I'm only modulating the root and whether it's minor or major, and I just made sure it was playing the same chords as like the rest of the song. But yeah, that just plays the same melody line just with the chords on it as a resonator. The Tongues of Fire sound is like an FM kind of pluck. It's just square modulated by a saw flanger and chorus. Is that doing much? It's doing a little bit. I don't think that's essential to this sound. This flanger is, I think. It makes it sound more metallic. So that's what I did there. Time 37. All right, I got more time. Here, I don't remember what this is. Is this the pan flute? It is. Close that Google Chrome. Google Chrome is the stream. I'm not going to close the stream. Literally, that's the only tab I have open is Facebook Live. But that's a very simple pan flute in Expand 2. That goes on sale a lot for things like literally $2 to $5. Or I think I might have gotten it when it was on sale for like $1 or something stupid on Plugin Boutique. And so grab this whenever you can. It's just a bunch of pre-made sounds, kind of like Omnisphere, but like baby mode. But I used this when I used to use Pro Tools. I used to use Pro Tools to produce pre-2016. Don't do that. But this is one of the things that was in there. And so when I saw it was on sale, I was like, oh, I'm going to get it. Because it's got a lot of good stuff. But it's got a lot of quick sounds and it's fun to work with. I think I might have used more sounds. Yeah, there's 2 more where I used that thing. I failed to mention that most of these things have as post-processing an OTT and then an EQ that just cuts out the lows. And if you also notice, I did not do a lot of sharp EQing on these things. The layers just kind of work together as they are. Like there's a little bit happening here, but like mostly just low cutting on all of these. Like when you design, that's one of the things I wanted to really bring across with the drop of this track. When you design sounds that work well together on their own, you don't really need to process them much. I put OTT on them because I wanted them to sound thicker, and I usually put reverb on them because that fills up the space. Like with such a dry sounding, or like a very staccato mix, you're going to have reverb to fill in the space between those hits. And so I put reverb. But like EQing wise, it was not a lot of work because the sounds just worked well together. I think it can be very easy to over EQ things. When I was starting out, I definitely over EQ'd things to where everything sounded super unnatural and they just didn't work together. I think in electronic music, you really don't need to EQ stuff that much as long as you design it correctly. So definitely keep that in mind as you're working on songs. But anyway, this sound is a music box type thing. And then this is a harp ? Yes, Soft Harp Plus in particular. This one is that a saw through a reverb filter? Yes, it is. That's a really fun way to make a very simple lead. Just a saw with a modulated reverb filter. Yeah, that was literally it. Just the reverb filter has such a cool timbre to it, like. But it's really only cool if you modulate it. If you don't modulate it, it sounds it still sounds filtered and cool, but it's more boring. But definitely mess with that. It'll definitely mess with the starting, like the phase of the sound. Like it'll sound like it starts in a weird spot if you do it wrong. Like, it already sounds a little behind the beat, but it feels like here. It sounds way behind the beat. So be careful with that for sure. Those are the main layers of the drop. There's also the sub. Got 2 layers here. A very, very distorted sub bass. It's the hip hop sub bass. That EQ. The hip hop sub bass preset in Ableton, distorted by 36 decibels. And then I cut out the extreme lows to where the sub would be. A lot of the low mids, because that can get real muddy real fast when you're distorting this hard. And a lot of like the mids. And I kept mostly the highs just for like the grit of the sound. Did I add any noise to this patch? No, I did not. Sometimes I'll add noise to it so it gives like a kind of buzzier sound when it's distorted. And there's the regular sub. There we go. Just the hip hop sub bass preset in Ableton. I think I might have done a... No, I didn't. So I drew it in. I could have maybe done this loop thing and then put it on trigger to where it was like a one shot each time and like set the decay to how long I wanted the note. But I did all that in here. One thing I did change is the release. The release is how long the note decays after the key, after you let go of the key. And I wanted the sub to feel more connected rather than just like choppy notes because of how staccato the sounds are. And if you don't know what that term means, staccato is like a musical... I don't know if intonation is the right word, but it is a way of playing music where the notes feel very short and disconnected. Legato is when the notes feel all smooth and connected. And so since the notes are all so disconnected, I wanted the sub to like link itself, like the notes to kind of like feel like they link together. So there wasn't a bunch of like empty space between the sounds. That's why I did the reverb on the other layers. And that's why I did the longer release here. So just the sub and other layers here, without the drums, you got... So yeah, these, like, having all these layers is really important for the feel of the song. It just makes it so thick. Like, this is everything without the sub. Yeah, and then here, I added even more layers. So you've got... That is a harmony. It's not playing the same thing. Before, everything was playing the exact same thing. Then I added this harmony to where it's got a little bit of variation to it. Like, you'll notice that it's not the same notes that was happening before. Oh, I actually added that harmony on the marimba line as well. But yeah, harmony is added in the second half of this drop. What is this? I made a vocal chop, so I took an Ariana Grande a cappella and then did some chops with it. And the actual audio is coming from here. This is where the whole a cappella is. And this shaper box is being triggered by these MIDI notes, and it'll do an envelope each time one of those MIDI notes hits. That's the way I wanted to do the rhythmic nature of the sound. I couldn't think of a faster way to do it and still have it sound like this. Like it sounds like this without the shaper box. And so that just allows it to flow in the same rate as the rest of the song. Get it! Goodness gracious. I don't know why this is happening. This is just a simple ARP. This is like barely even audible, but there's just like small variations in the second half of the drop to keep things moving forward and feeling fresh, even if you can't like hear it. It's all about feel, folks. That is what I want you to pull from this session. And I've got some filler sounds in the drop here. This Tisoki laser. Just some ear candy between hits because it's so simple. Like the melody just repeats like the whole drop without any variation really, besides the harmony. And so you've got to have some stuff between the hits to make it feel interesting all the way through. And so I've got this laser. Those two like rising pad sounds. The pad's called Rise. How about that? Yeah, it's the same pad, except I pitched one of them up, I think. Yeah, a fifth, 7 semitones. But yeah, that happens throughout the song in like small intervals. What is this sound? Ooh, I think I put an entire song into Granulator 2. Yes, that was so fun to make. Okay, so I put my song Breaking Free. I was feeling a little bit lazy, and I was like, what can I do to fill in these spots between like the melodic parts? And I was like, maybe I can use a sample from something I already made, and I couldn't figure that out. Like, nothing worked from that. And I was like, well, I have a song that is in the same key. Is in the same key and tempo, actually. Breaking Free, featuring Joe Garrett. But yeah, there's a really cool growl in part of the drop. Actually, that's not even a growl, is it? But really what I did is this grain size is what controls how fast the different grains are happening. And so I set this pretty high to where it sounds like it's stuttering. And the shape of each grain, like the envelope, it kind of falls off. So it's very percussive and very fast. And so I found like a part that I like. But I just like repeated it and just had it move around so it sounded like a growl, and did some filtering on it and a phaser on it. OTT, of course, resonators, of course, like just like took the song, put it in Granulator and post-processed it. I think Serum Effects is where the filtering is happening. Oh, yeah, there's a reverb filter on it. I just took the entire song, granulated it, and then just messed around with it. And then... yeah. So that was really cool. That's what that filler sound is. That is fun. And so the way I made that, you can see these like pink things at the bottom that are not being sidechained or played. This is where I took the entire drop, resampled it, and like put a plugin on it called mHarmonizer. It is a harmonizer plugin, but when you set the settings in really stupid ways, it'll make really glitchy sounds. And so I put it on multi-mode, which like splits the sound based on a certain criteria. This splits by transient. A is the beginning of the transient sounds, B is the release. So B is going to have like no percussiveness to it. And I soloed the A section, which means you're only getting the attack. And if you set the settings weird, it's not going to know what the beginning of a transient is. And so it kind of has this like cutting in and out effect. So it does that sort of thing. It's like, what is transient? And so I like resampled that sort of thing. I think this is where I did that transient thing and also like changed the formants. I made just a bunch of different versions of it, and then I took a chop of one of them and like had it actually go live like out to the master. That's just like part of the melody from like earlier in the thing. Is it this? Yeah, that part of the song. Just like glitched out. And so that's what all that is. I have not answered questions in a long time, and it's 9:50, so I should move to the next track pretty soon. Can you explain your thought process behind having each layer maxed at 6 dB? Well, the thought process there is that it didn't sound loud enough and I was lazy. So I just boosted everything up to 6. That's it. Like, there's a lot of layers that I just made loud. Especially, it's mostly just out of Expand, because Expand, everything is just pretty quiet. That's where, like, the actual instruments are. The synths you can, like, change within Serum and stuff, like the leveling. But I just maxed these at +6 because they didn't sound loud enough, and I wanted them to sound near the same volume as these things. There wasn't any kind of, like, I want to get distortion out of the sound or anything. That was just the way I decided to level it. Nothing special about it. Let me see. Pro Tools U. I agree. It is not for electronic music. No siree. Is this how you do most of your subs? Yeah. Sometimes I won't do the whole gritty layer, but my sub is almost always the hip hop sub preset in Ableton. I used to always make my own, and then after seeing multiple things like workshops and like people breaking down their tracks like Must Die, Dr. Rosie, I think even Leatrix, everyone's like, yeah, I just use the hip hop sub preset, and I was like, all right, I gotta check this out, and then I did it. I don't know why it sounds so good, but it works for dubstep, so I just use it. But yeah, the whole gritty bass thing, that's only something I do if I feel like the song isn't feeling full enough without it. And so without it, get it! It sounds fine, but I really wanted that like buzzy, distorted, gritty sound, and so I added this. It's not even that audible. Like, I turned it down 7 dB relative to the sub. Well, that's also granted because it's like 36 decibels clipping. But yeah, it's not super essential. I just like having that texture. What is it? Any keys of music that sound better for bass music versus others? Absolutely. Yeah, for dubstep, you usually want to stay between like D and G. I break those rules quite a bit. This is in C sharp minor, so this is like a little bit below D. And sometimes it sounds weird on systems because just the sub, like your C sharp is pretty low. So that can be an issue, but you make whatever works. This song would not work in any other key, I don't think. For me, C sharp is my favorite key, C sharp minor. And it just has like a really emotional feel that I've never really heard in another key besides like G sharp minor. I don't know why my brain just like processes those two keys in the way it does, but it just like feels different. G sharp minor and C sharp minor for me are like my two faves. C sharp being my first fave, but that is kind of low, and G sharp minor is kind of high. Mickey's in the chat. We made a song together that is in G sharp minor titled Aurora on my latest Disciple Roundtable EP. But that's in G sharp minor if you want to hear what that sounds like. It's like a lot higher than most dubstep tracks are, but I really like the feel that it has. Do you have glue compression or a limiter on your bass group or the other groups? I only really group things for organization. I'll have this washout thing if I want to do a washout before the drop hits or something like that. But other than that, I don't really process my groups together. This comes into play, this frequency shifter and bit reduction comes into play for the last drop, the third drop. This washout happens, I think, in the same zone, like third drop sort of thing. Let me see. No, end of drop 2 to like fade it out, and end of drop 3, I think. Yeah, that's like the fade out the whole thing. But I think I covered most of what's important on drop 1, and I only have like 5 minutes left that I should be spending on this track. So yeah, I'm gonna hold off on the questions for now. Finish breaking down very briefly bridge, drops 2 and 3, and then go on to the next song. And while the next project file is loading, I can go back to the questions and answer. But this build is almost identical to the first. Bringing back that main melody again on the marimba.
Rise, yeah.
bringing in variation here. Like you would expect it to go back to that main melody again because I teased it in the build like I did for the first build and the first drop. But here it's just like the tonic. Basically just like staying on that C sharp for most of the drop, just kind of going up and down around it, but staying there for the most part. Most of the same layers, some are taken out just because I didn't want it to sound too full because I added in this coma bass layer from my song Coma. I saved it and then I went into Serum, changed stuff around, changed some of the automation and like the tone of the resonator and that kind of thing for the song. And this is like the first song where I really made my basses move around a lot. Most of them just stay on the one note, but this is going like all over the place at different parts. And this is just a duplicate of that sound. Yeah, it does a lot of moving, which is really fun. I don't do that much, and it was fun to like have a song where the bass is actually a melody. Like a lot of the time I say melodic dubstep or melodic rhythm, there really isn't a melody in a lot of the drops that I make. It's like harmony, but this actually moves around in like a melodic fashion. So that was fun. But the layers here are playing chords, basically. Like they aren't playing the same note. That's mostly staying on the C sharp. This one is a harmony. Also harmony, and I think this one is on the root note. So these two are the root, these two are harmonies. And this one's probably the root. Yeah, and so there's some playing harmonies, some playing the root in this drop, which kind of gives it more of that. It's just different from the first. I have to know what the Get It sample is from. Splice?
Get it! Get it!
Yes, Splice.
Get it!
And I even pitched it to be in key. I think this one is up to, yeah, this one's up 2, this one's up 1. So it's like the 7 of the scale and the 5 of the scale.
Get it! Get it!
Like if I were to...
Get it! Get it!
If I just take it and like put it back in the normal tone it's in.
Get it!
It just doesn't fit because it's like, it's kind of tonal because he like sticks on a note whenever he says each word. So I just pitched it to be in key. But yeah, it's a splice sample. That's all that is. How much automation are you doing on the synths? On the melodic layers, not much. But on the things where I have to change the chords of the resonators, a lot. a lot. Especially the coma sounds. Is there a way to open up everything that's automated on here? EQ filter for... There's a lot automated on the coma ones. Yeah, I think that's everything then. So you got the EQ filtering on, the fine tune of the frequency shifter on the coma bass, and then the warp and Serum, and the main things. And a lot of moving of the notes themselves. But I want to quickly cover something in the third drop. Bridge is very simple. It's like atmospheric like the intro, except it's got a big old pan flute. Yeah, there's not much new to cover here, so I'm just going to skip over it. If you want to hear this section, just check out the song Rise by Asora. This build is almost the exact same except the very end. The vocal just kind of stutters. That's really easy to do. And I added harmonies over time on it too. That was kind of cool. But Yeah, this one comes in a little bit, and then this one.
Get it!
So this one's got more melodic variations. The glitch is a little bit different. Same process to make the sound. Going into that plugin and just doing weird stuff with it. The way I made that big washed out mess is with a frequency shifter that's at like it goes to 50% wet, and it creates this really cool phasing effect. And this 4.67 is not a random number. I did the math, and I think to have it phasing at like, it was either like a half note or a quarter note or an eighth note. It was some sort of like interval in the song, but in order to have it going at that speed at 140 beats per minute, it would be going 4.67 times per second. So it sounds like it's a quarter note, but yeah.
Get it!
But yeah, besides the melodic changes, there's really not much different in this part of the drop. But toward the end, I did a really fun musical thing where I used like the half step above the root note to create this like really cool tension right before the second half of this drop. I haven't done that before, I don't think. But yeah, like once you know kind of what you're doing, don't be afraid to use some notes that are technically out of key, because that'll give a really cool sense of variation. And like the D that I used here is not in the key of C sharp minor. It is a half step above, and it'll usually sound bad, but it creates this really cool sense of tension right before the next section because it's a half step away and it feels like it's about to resolve but hasn't yet, and then it like hits right as soon as the second half drops.
Make your music stand out, get more views, and way more engagement. Bring your music to life. Get Music Visualizer. In every format, even for social media. Get started today. The link is in the description.
This is one thing I was really sad about. So when we sent the song, or Disciple sent the song to distribution, and I was like, wait, I want to make this like screechy sound in the background a little bit louder. So I changed it, and I was like, hey, could you like replace the file? And they're like, yeah, we can take care of it. And they never replaced it. So technically in SoundCloud and in like Spotify and all those places, you're hearing a different version of this song than I wanted to be released. Because literally the only change is that this is a little bit louder. I just made it like louder so it felt like it had more of an effect. Actually significantly louder here. It's a very subtle effect in the song that's actually released, but I was like, I want that to be like a really big thing that makes it feel different. But they didn't replace it, and that was really sad, but it's fine. It's pretty minor. I feel like not many people would notice that. But anyway, yeah, for the most part, they're like the exact same. The second half, I think the literal only difference is this screechy thing over it. And then the outro is very simple, very similar to the intro. And those like sword sounds just fade out, and then it's done. The only other thing I really wanted to show was like one of the chant sounds is me. Where is it? That, I think that's me. That's me. I made a sample. I went into my closet at my parents' house, set a metronome to 150 BPM and just started recording me shouting like every few shouting something every like bar, and then I'll just pull samples from that now. A lot of these sound really stupid.
Yeah. What?
I had a lot of fun doing this.
Hey.
And then I'll just take stuff and use it as shouts in my songs. But yeah, I am like 6 minutes longer than what I wanted to do for this song. I'll go through last minute comments as I open the next project. Hopefully most of the questions I'll be able to answer without like going to specific tracks and stuff. Nah, I didn't want to change anything anyway. It'll probably take a long time to load this next project because Rise took forever to load. Let's see. Is that plugin by Melda? Yes. M Harmonizer is a Melda plugin. Let me see. Please ignore if you answered. What is your thought process on the response melody and the drops to the flow with the intro melody? I definitely tried to make the intro melody and the drop melody feel similar. Like they're one and the same, like they weren't two completely different songs. The melodies themselves are definitely different, but I do have the drop melody in the build to kind of link everything together. In my song Waiting, I had like one melody all the way through the entire song, if you want to check that out. But that's just the exact same melody in the intro and the drops. Let's see what else. How many automations? I answered that one. A fast way to resample. In Ableton, there is a resampling recording mode. Like there's an input for resampling, literally called resampling, that I'll show you as soon as the project loads. That's the fastest way. You like turn off all the effects that are on your master so that they don't color your sound and like affect the sound twice. And then you'll open like a instrument track. I think this one should run a lot smoother, less tracks and less big ol' intense synths. But yeah, you'll go to input and you'll get your input from resampling, and then you'll solo the track that you're wanting to record, and then you can just record that way. But be sure to turn off your master stuff, because if you don't, you'll record things after they've been processed by the master plugins, and then it'll be playing through the master. So you get the processing twice, and it's not fun unless there's probably something you could... That could probably make some really cool sound design somehow with all the feedback. But anyway, yeah. Can you explain how you use Resonator effectively? I think one thing that I learned in the process of using resonators on my sounds is not to... the way that I would get like the tonality coming in and out of the sound was by automating the dry wet. And I think when you have the resonator all the way wet, you lose like the meat of the sound. And so instead, I created a rack I might have used here, where I automate the volume of the resonator signal and have like it in parallel with the other sound, like the normal unresonated sound. So you get like the thickness of the original sound, but like also the chords on top of it. And I think that was a big way that made the resonator sound better. Let me see. Hertz and milliseconds conversions. Yeah. That's what I did for the frequency shifter thing on the basis group. Send me that version. I don't think I have it. All right. Literally the only change is that squeaky thing in this third drop. Tiny nice. You weren't supposed to see. Oh no. You saw project files that you shouldn't have seen. Keep them on the down low. Okay. I don't know what you're talking about. Tynan collab, Subtronics collab. I don't know. I don't know what you're talking about. Mixdown techniques. So mixdowns, it's weird. Earlier on producing, mixdowns were a thing that I would like super hyper focus on and be like, I gotta get my mix sounding great, so I gotta do these things. But over time, it's just become like a natural thing. One of the biggest things with mixing is just to do it over and over and over and over again with the intention of improving and getting more attention to detail. using reference tracks as you mix a song is going to be one of the best ways to do that, because you can listen to a song that you admire and you know is mixed well and compare it to your own and try to just use only your ears, maybe some visual tools like an analyzer. That'll definitely help to figure out how to make your track sound as close to the other one as possible. I think that's the biggest thing that helped me with mixes. And as I've continued to do that, and as I've just kind of gotten an ear for what sounds good on these particular headphones especially, it just kind of became natural. So the big thing is just to do it a lot. It's advice that I received a lot when I was working, and I was like, nah, there's got to be some sort of magic pill or like plugin that's everyone's using that makes their mixes better. There isn't. I'll save you a lot of time. Yeah, you just have to do it a lot. It's a very boring and like tedious answer, but that is the truth. But anyway, this is Cyber Cuddle. It is a song I finished like last summer, or no, this summer. It's still 2020. This has been a long year. A song I made this summer with the intention of playing it live and like putting it at the beginning of my mixes and stuff. And I did some really cool stuff in it. It's got kind of like a futuristic vibe, very different from Rise. But this is it. I'll just play it. Get the gist of that. Second half of the drop. But yeah, bridge. Second drop. But yeah, this one I just noticed has two 32-bar drops. Who would have guessed? Not me. I didn't guess it, and I made this song. How do you make all those glitchy sounds that are so melodic? I'll definitely get to that, because that's a really big part of this song. It's never an Ace or a track that doesn't have a signature marimba. You bet marimba is the instrument. Like, that's most of the intro here. Just the... There's a grain delay on it. The intro gets more and more intricate as time goes on. I wanted to intentionally keep the beginning pretty low key. Like I said at the beginning, this is something I use at the beginning of mixes, the beginning of my live sets, stuff like that. I wanted to have something that I could play out at like a festival or at a big show that's like, this is Asora, I'm really excited to hear his set. It's like, whoa. I do plan to release this song though next year. I'm trying to figure out plans. I want to try to self-release it because I have not self-released music in a very long time. Not original music at least. But I want to try to do that so I can really have control over the creative process on how I roll it out and stuff. But anyway, that'll be in 2021 sometime. But it starts out with a Reese. Cut off all the way down to 11, and that's kind of how I made it super quiet at the beginning. Then it goes up to its max at like 8 bars in or something at like 271, kind of stays there for a while until, does it go back up at the end? Nope, just kind of stays there. But that's the intro. One really fun thing was the vocal. I'm sure you heard it. There is an artist called Modus. He released this on Rushdown a little bit, other places as well. He makes kind of like futuristic sounding music. He made a tutorial on his YouTube on how to do this sort of thing, and that's what I followed to make it. It is just me kind of saying the things that I wanted to announce.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Is there a frequency shifter on it? I think I might have bounced it out with the frequency shifter on it. Yeah. But this is just something I made. This is my voice. Maybe.
Ladies and gentlemen.
I did a lot of resampling. Like I put a frequency shifter and OTT, and then I think I vocoded it after I did all that.
Ladies and
Yeah, this is after I did all the stutters and stuff.
Ladies and gentlemen, prepare your oral centers for the harmonic frequencies of...
That's a completely different vocal that I made at a different time. It's a cut from my song Metamorphosis VIP, actually. I made that vocal in like 2016, 17 though. Like this thing. Except here I like stretched it a lot. Because it was like fit into the span of 2 bars in the original. But anyway, this is my voice with vocoder, with this synth. Let me see what it sounds like on its own. It sounds so stupid. But combined with the vocal, so most of the time when you do like a vocoder sound, you don't really get like the intonation or inflection, that's what I was looking for. Inflection of the voice going up and down in pitch. And so it doesn't sound like actual speech. And so this kind of going up and down is meant to mimic how I would say ladies and gentlemen. Like it'd go up and then down. And so that's what this is. It sounds so stupid on its own. But when applied to this, that's how you would say it. Like you wouldn't say ladies and gentlemen. That sounds stupid and not human-like. I wanted this to sound like a human-robot combination thingy. So.
Ladies and gentlemen, prepare your oral centers for the harmonic frequencies
So that was that. What's this tutorial called again for the vocals? Sounds really dope. I don't remember what he called it. It was like something like how to make robotic vocals or something. The artist is Modus, M-O-D-U-S. He does, well, it was on YouTube. I think I already said that. He also streams on Twitch, but you'll find the tutorial on YouTube. Is that layered with this? That sounds so sick. And then impact that I made. But anyway, most of the intro, or that part that I just played, is literally just this bass sound and the vocal, but that like marimba comes in part way through. Like. But yeah, I wanted that to be a thing where like, people are at an Asoro show and they hear that, they're like, yeah, it's Asoro, woo, cool intro. That's how they would sound, exactly like that. But yeah, marimba comes in, and then this vibraphone and crotales also come in. If you were not aware, I was in marching band in high school, and all of these instruments are something, they're part of what's called the front ensemble. In a marching band, you have like everyone marching on the field, of course, but you've also got a lot of percussion instruments in the front. The marimba, crotales, and vibraphone are all in that family in like the front, and I used to play in that section. And so they're all kind of the same family. Other mallet instruments. This is the vibraphone part. It's like a syncopated sort of thing. The crotale is just like at the end of each section. I don't remember what this is. I hear the marching band so much in your music. Yeah, oh, that actually reminds me. There's more marching band elements here. This is like full marching band mode. There's a drum line. This part was so fun to make. It's so weird. This is something I'd encourage you to do. I combine so many different elements from so many different experiences I've had outside of dubstep. Like, who else do you know that combines like drumline and marimba stuff with dubstep and like trance, you know? It's so fun to take influences from everything you've experienced with music and break all of the rules and just make your own stuff. I saw a question in the comments a long time ago that I didn't answer, asking how you make melodic rhythm that sounds unique and sounds your own. Exactly like that. Take experiences from outside of dubstep, outside of electronic music, and combine them with electronic music. And so just the drumline type stuff you got. And I've also got a dubstep snare that starts building up midway through that part, like halfway through the drumline thing. But yeah, and then this is where we get to the real meaty part. Honestly, I find this like section way more interesting than the drop. Like the melody starts to slowly filter in and like kind of gives you the hint that something's about to happen right here. This is so fun. I made this one in Serum. The big thing that makes this lead work, why does Serum open on this monitor? Is this glide, the portamento here. So it's at 27 milliseconds, and I put it on always and on mono. This mono means that only one note is playing at any given time. There will never be overlapping notes that are like both playing. It's monophonic, that's what that means. This always switch means that the portamento always happens on change of notes. The notes don't have to be overlapping or connected. It'll just always glide from note to note. The portamento time, 27 milliseconds, is how long it takes when it receives the next note signal to change over to that new pitch. And so if it didn't have it, like with it on, that gliding is what makes the whole feel of the sound. If you take off the glide, sounds cool still, but the sound of going from a low note to a high note gives this really cool like whipping effect. I don't know how else to explain it. And I've got lots of layers here. Another glidey synth. This one sounds like it's square based. Yeah. the basic mini wavetable in Serum with a little bit of distortion and flanger, but a lot of detune on it. Same glide. Oh, this one's at 23 milliseconds. Interesting. How did you go about creating the drum line? Can you expand on that section briefly, please? Absolutely. Yes, I can. So this was all... That reverb rings out so long. Again, with the reverb, that marimba has tons. You gotta have that ambience. This is a lot of different splice samples. And I knew how a drumline was put together because of how I was in drumline. I played the snare for 2 years in drumline. But I knew it needed like a bass drum section, a snare section, and a quads section. And so this is the snares. How did I separate it? We'll see. Usually there's some sort of count off, and so I did this like stick click thing. And I didn't want to use the exact same sample all 4 times because that would sound super unnatural and weird. And so this sample had like 3 different clicks. So I used the first one, and then 2 other clicks, and then the first one again. So they don't sound the exact same because that would just not sound natural. That is the snare hit. This is a snare roll leading to the snare hit. And this is another snare layer. Another snare roll. I'll just play the snares, I guess. I think this is the quads. Actually, that's kind of everything. So it's got snares in it, and quads, and cymbals. So it's like an everything loop. I just kind of put these loops together that I found on Splice and made something that sounded rhythmically pleasing. Oh, there's also a open, or it's like a... If you've ever seen a hi-hat, it's similar, but it's like people opening and closing big cymbals. That is the same sample over and over. So it sounds a little bit unnatural, but... I also put a reverb on everything. If there was no reverb, it would sound really, really stupid. Like, it works, but not for this song. Like, we're in a big atmospheric intro. Like, if you just had these really stupid dry drums on top of all this, like, reverbed out pads and stuff, it would just not work. And so I put reverb on it to match the vibe of everything. It just feels so much bigger, too, you know? But that's that section. I believe the Splice pack is called Cobra Drumline. I might... Probably right. Yep, Cobra Drumline. It's a very nice pack. Very, very nice. But, yeah, I'll go back to this trancey section now. Where is it? So yeah, I've got Glidey Synth 1. Glidey Synth 2. Glidey Synth 3 question mark. Pad 1. So that's just a simple super saw. There's a lot of super saw and like detune based things in this song, if you've noticed. I just wanted to get that trance vibe for this thing because I really like that style of like wavy synth stuff. But yeah, it's a very simple super saw with a little bump in the mids with a bandpass. What's this? Big buzzy bass. This might be my favorite Reese I've made. This one also glides because the notes are connected. I think the portamento is much longer here. Yeah, 65 milliseconds. But it's detune saws with tube distortion, multiband compression, and a big old scoop out of the mids, and a noise on top. That's what gives it like the buzzy sound and the distortion. And then it's just like a layer of the bass. That's to give a sense of like quarter note tone, because everything is moving so fast that you can like easily miss like this is quarter notes. It's moving in a very like the pattern doesn't reset right on the beat. Like the emphasized higher notes are not right on the beat, and so this kind of gives the hey, this is where the beat is. It's very subtle, but like it gives like a feel to the track, like I mentioned earlier. This is about the feels. Big ol' Must Die impact. And it's chopped here for no reason, because I'm lazy. I don't know why that. When composing this section, did you start with the lead line, chord progression, lead? I just wanted to make a really cool, wavy lead thing. And so I started with this, I think, in particular. I made this patch, and well, I think I made the line first with like a basic saw, and then had it glide and added detuning and stuff like that. This is fun. That's not how it's supposed to look. Okay. This is what the distortion curve looks like. It's hard to articulate why I made it look like that, but it gives a very like it kind of feels like the sound cuts out sometimes. It's kind of hard to describe wave shaping in English terms, but once you mess with it enough, you kind of get a feel what certain like shapes of curves and certain like sharpness and like steepness of curves on the wave shaping do. But that's on this B side. On the A side, I've got just a normal like input output. Like this is no distortion, basically. It's just a line. And so since the drive's at 50-50 here, it's like half normal, half big weird distortion. Without it, it sounds really boring. It gives it like a sense of grittiness. I don't know how else to describe that. Like it just sounds gritty and not perfect. And I like that sound for this kind of trance style of thing. I don't remember what this is. Oh, this is a harmony that happens like on like weird offbeats. I don't remember. I think I made these drums, and these are one of my favorite sets of drums that I've made. Yep, I made this kick in Kick 2. So this is what the sub curve looks like. It starts real high, swoops down, kind of sits in this like 100 hertz range for a while, and then swoops back down to the G. I intentionally put it at this G here because the song was in G minor. This is what the amp looks like. It starts all the way up. After a while, it decays all the way down. This is something you'll get a feel for when you work with making kicks. It is so hard to get a feel for how to make drum sounds. Like, I still don't really get it. Whenever I try to design drums, it's like I was going to say 50-50, but that's not true. Like a 20% chance that I'll get something that sounds even kind of okay. And so, honestly, you're probably better off using samples most of the time. Unless you like want to be the person that like makes those samples and make a ton of money like they do. That would also be wise if you want to go that route. But anyway, I made this kick. That's the sub. Just the sub sounds like this. It's got some drive on it. Make it sound a little thicker. Can I reset that? Okay, cool. This click is just like a hi-hat sound. Got some like high end on it, so it's got more energy. This sound, it's a click for the very beginning. And then this, for some like a little bit of like mid body, but it's also like some high end, hi-hat-ish stuff. And that's the kick. I'm surprised I didn't use a transient shaper on it, because usually I'll put a transient shaper on my kicks at the end. But I didn't here, because I guess I didn't need it. It really sounds fine, so. This clap, if you can even call it that, is a lot of stuff. So this is a pan sound that I recorded a long time ago of me like hitting a pan from my parents' kitchen with a wooden spoon. There's this. Oh, is this the same thing? This one with reverb? Why do I have two of... If it works, it works. Honestly, I shouldn't have done it this way. What I should have done is just create a group where I've got the reverb on one chain and no reverb on the other, just like that. But I didn't for whatever reason. I did like a duplicate. Oh, is this shifted differently? No, it's not. Okay. It was just me being lazy. I don't know why I did it that way. But yeah, this is the whole clap. We got the pan layers plus I automated the EQ on this clap. What? Oh, because I really wanted that like 1K bump. I don't know why I automated it though. I did a lot of very detailed things in the song. I remember this was one of those tracks where I really got into the flow of it, so the creation process was like a blur. It just kind of happened, but it was really fun to make as a result. This is a fun layer. It's like, it's got a really wet, tiny reverb on it from the Ableton stock. It's pitch shifted up, or frequency shifted up. Those are different. What is this? It's a clap. Harshly EQ'd because I only wanted that kind of like mid-range stuff. And some texture. Pitch shifted, or frequency shifted real high, OTT'd, with a high time value, so it's not super blown out, but it's still very compressed. And then I cut out all the lows and a lot of mids even, because I only wanted that texture that's like up here. So whole thing. And then in tandem with the kick. Maybe that's why I didn't do the transient shaping. So usually what I'll do is I'll transient shape the kick to where it's got a real sharp transient on it, and then like cut the stuff out of my snare. Like I'll cut the transients out of the samples I use like this. But I didn't do that here. I guess I just used the transients from this for like the big impact. Okay, I see what I did now. That makes sense. This is not being used. Oh, I rendered it out because I had saved that sample to use later. Hi-hats. More hi-hats. Actually, no, that's a ride cymbal. My bad. I EQ'd out some harshness here, as you can see. I just found that wasn't pleasing to the ear at that frequency, as I was listening to the whole mix, and so I took that out. Is there much background stuff? I think this is just like a sustained note. That's an offbeat pluck. It's just a bunch of notes in sequence, like slightly offset from each other. If they sounded like, if they were all on top of each other, it wouldn't really sound like a plucked instrument. Because like, think about it, when you're playing a guitar and like plucking all the strings, the pick is hitting the strings at slightly different times. Like slightly one after another. They're not all happening at the same time. So it sounds like it's like a plucked instrument. If they're all together, it would still work, but it does not have the same feel. So I did that. Now the fun part. This is what the basses and subs sound like. I had a lot of fun with sound design on this one. This was one of the ones where I started with sound design. I remember now. I was like, how do I make a big old phasery weird bass? I was just messing around with stuff. That's what sound design kind of is. So much is automated in this. Hold on. Let me see if I can actually like get all of these things. Oh my gosh. LFO2 rate, filter frequency. These are all in Serum. The FM octave. Oh my. The frequency shifter fine tuning at the very end just as an effect. Kind of how it just fades out there. Or like lowers. That's what that is. Mixer. This has got to be... Oh, this is just the on-off of the sound. It kind of cuts off there. That's it. So that's not important. So you've got the fine tuning. That's also not very important. So mostly just the FM frequency. So that'll change like the tonality of it. And then here it's like higher. FX filter. The filter frequency cutoff is higher here. Let's show what the patch is. Another very basic FM. A lot of the stuff I do is basic FM that's like blown out with effects. Ooh, the main thing behind this patch is very interesting. Or the sound is interesting, and I'll show it to you when I get to it. I automated the rate of the LFO on this as well. You can hear how it goes like faster and slower, but it's still like all in the same tempo, of course. Same beats per minute of the song, but it's like 8th notes, 16th, 32nd notes, quarter note sort of thing. But that's all fairly simple stuff. Like it was simple FM sound in Serum. The mini waves tables. Oh, there's a Combs filter. That's probably adding a lot to the sound. Yeah, that's what gives it kind of the feel of it's going like down and back up, is the Combs filter. Where is it? It's this. Kind of feels like it's phasing in and out. That's one of the things that creates it. And another thing, this sound is very heavily based on frequency shifters. I did the same thing that I showed in Rise, where I have a frequency shifter that is synced to the key of the song. And funnily enough, 5 Hertz is, I think, like 8th notes. Yeah, 5 Hertz is like 8th notes in 150 beats per minute. And so 2.5 Hertz is going to be your like 8th notes. Wait, no, I am saying that wrong. Anyway, 5 Hertz is like some sort of, that'd be like, yeah, that'd be 8th notes. And then 16th notes would be like 10 and so on. But anyway, you go from 8th notes. If you want quarter notes, you would have to cut the Hertz value in half, because it is like a longer interval. And so the per second wave cycles would be less. And so that would be 2.5 Hertz for quarter notes. And then for half notes, you get 1.25 if you cut that 2.5 in half. And so this frequency shifter is what's giving it that like phasing in and out every half note. Without it, and because it's at the 76 dry wet, you're getting the signal that is not frequency shifted and the signal the signal that is frequency shifted. And that's what's making them phase in and out from each other. Like if it was all the way wet, you wouldn't get the effects. It's because you're getting both signals. And because it is frequency shifted rather than pitch shifted, instead of it sounding like a harmony or like a harmonizer, because things are frequency changed rather than pitch changed, they're being changed on like a linear scale, not being multiplied. Pitch is multiplication. And so when you're frequency shifting things, all of the different harmonics in the sound are out of phase by this one value. And so the whole sound is phasing in and out rather than like all the harmonics phasing in and out at different rates. Like the harmonics at the top would phase out faster because they're faster frequency, but everything's being shifted here by 1.25 Hertz. So they're all phasing it out at the same rate. That's why you're getting that sound. So if I were to like, you get the strongest effect at 50-50. But I didn't want quite that strong. But if I were to change it faster or slower, you'll hear it'll phase out faster or slower. Which I do in the second drop, I believe. But yeah, that's the bulk of the sound. That's like the interesting part. I saturated only the lows to get some buzz out of it. This mid and high doesn't have any processing on it that's meaningful, or anything at all. Actually, it just has like splitter on it. So I'm distorting those lows. You know what? I'm going to... this is just an effect that comes later. So I'm going to turn off all the things, this stays off, that are on here to show you what the effect is that they have on the sound. So I've got this...
Make your music stand out, get more views, and way more engagement. Bring your music to life. Get Music Visualizer. In every format, even for social media. Get started today. The link is in the description.
This serum patch on its own with the EQ and saturator, which makes it louder, basically. So now you add this audio effect rack, which has got the frequency shifter that phases in and out that I showed you earlier. And then you get this. Also, I like to correct myself. This is a part of the sound with no effects, a chain with no effects in parallel with the frequency shifted thing with more highs. And so this dry wet could be at 100% and we'd still get the effect because we've got the dry signal and the frequency shifted signal on different chains. I didn't catch that before. This frequency splitter just adds distortion to lows. I'll show the frequency shifter thing first. You got that. And then the lows distort. I'll turn it off and on so you hear the effect. It's pretty subtle. Just a little bit of thickness. The phaser gives a little more of a phasery sound. This was used for glitch effects and stuff. Kind of like I was showing you in the other song. I think this is where all of the melodic tonal stuff happens. Yeah. It's just a resonator with 100% dry wet in parallel with the dry sound. Plus OTT. Only at 61%, so not full blast, but still pretty strong. Saturator. For more thickness. Then I cut out the extreme lows so the sub has room to breathe. There was a very annoying harmonic there, so I cut that out. Let me see. I just found it annoying, so I cut it. I cut a lot of the mids too. I just like the feel of the song having like a scoop in the mids. A little bit of a bump in the highs, just like a couple decibels. And that's basically it. A little bit of a cut. Like, these are all very minor things that I heard as I was sculpting the sound. And then saturation at the end, just to make it louder. So that's the main sound. What is this? So this follows the exact same rhythm of the main sound, but it is a supersol. That's just like, I think, is it filtering, or I think it's volume automating in and out. You need to be over here. Thank you. So it kind of gives just the chord quality to it. And like I was talking about in the other one, I don't always do the gritty thing on my sub. This song didn't need it because this bass already had a very thick low. And the sub is... I did this one in Serum and then distorted it a little bit. I think it's literally just a sine. Maybe distorted a little bit. Let me see. I think I just automated the volume. Yeah, yeah, you can see the wavetables here. I copied the main sound over and then just had the sub do the same automation. And that's it. Just a sine with a little bit of saturation on it. No big distorty bass thing. What is this? I don't think I used this. It's turned off. I did not use that. There's an offbeat thing here. Is that like a Virtual Riot sample? I made this? It's a duplicate of the sound, the main sound. Is it like a higher note, maybe? I don't remember making this. Like I said, this the creating of this whole track was like a blur, but it was so much fun, and that's why it was like that. Is there any more questions? I don't see any more. If you got questions, ask them because I will answer them. That's why I'm here. But yeah, those are offbeat, kind of filling in, or just making the drop feel more full. This is fun. It's that same M harmonizer thing that I was showing before. I think that was just from this, and I might have like stretched it. I did. I made it double speed. What does it sound like normally? Oh, I think I made this in a different session though. That was a glitch sound that I made in a different session that I just played at double speed to fill in that gap. But this was made in M harmonizer, the same thing I showed before. Same for this one, I believe. Yeah, this one's not pitch shifted. Yes. But that's what that sound is. And this is a resample of the main bass. I think I changed the pitch within the clip. I don't usually do that, but I was like, I'm gonna sample this out and then just whip it back and forth. But I put a resonator on top of it, so it'd still stay in that same key, and a grain delay and OTT and saturator. Just like blew it out of the water, put a resonator on it, and called it a day, really. Without it, it'll sound weird. It still works, but I still wanted like the tonality, like the chord out of it. Honestly, that sounds kind of cool without it. No, that sounds better with it. Oh, and I had it change chord too. Interesting. I didn't notice that. Why is it frozen? Yeah, I had those move. It's kind of cool. So it has a different like hit for each quarter note. But that's that. Like the drop is pretty simple. It's just the one thick sound with a few glitches in between. That was fun. This is that same sound resampled also. I think I played it at double speed here. And then did a weird, like, yeah, texture grain warp mode. It's a really fun one. It's like, it chops it up into grains and like stitches those grains together to create the warping. And so with this mode, you're getting like a weird glitchy thing because the grains are super tiny. So that's what I did there. And then this fills in the offbeats, which might be like stretched out or slowed. Still the texture mode, but it's like oh, this is reversed. But they do a 16th note thing. And then as you heard there, I have that same set of melodic trance thingies filling in the section. And then the second half of the drop is a little bit different. It's got some more layers. A lot of different layers. So this would probably be considered the main layer. I think it's like a variation of that same. Nope, this is a completely different patch. It's still an FM sound that has been frequency shifted to create that like phasing effect, but it's completely different. You got a triangle, a saw. There's no, well, I guess there is the all pass filter. I don't think that has. Oh, it's moving back and forth. So it does have a big effect on the sound. Without it, it sounds like this. With it, kind of makes it sound noisy and like it's whipping back and forth. Big flanger. Without it. With it. That's not a big part of the sound. It's just adding like a little bit of ringing on it. This is the same thing I showed before, except that double the rate. Double the rate, because it's at 2.5 rather than 1.25. So it's like every quarter note. So that's that. I think this is probably the melodic stuff. Yes, resonator, same as on the other one, I think. And then my rack of joy, which is just like a fat rack. It's distortion and compression with a little bit of like, what do I even call that? Character adding to the sound. This metal thing is like a chorus, I think. And there's like a 2% reverb on it, like just to add a little bit of character to the sound. Without it, sounds like this. It's really not doing a lot, because it's already very distorted and compressed and stiff. And then I did some mid-side EQing. Took a little bit out of the sides because I felt like the sides got muddy down in like the 200 area, so I bumped that up. And then kind of did the same type curve on both of these, where I kind of bumped the 1K to 2K zone, because that's where a lot of presence is. And if this is a main sound, it's going to need a lot there, and it didn't really have a lot. And so I bumped that up on the mids and the sides to keep that consistent. And then a little bit of a saturator at the end, just to make sure things aren't, well, I was going to say make sure things aren't clipping. I do that later in the process, basically. What is this? Got a quarter note bass happening here. It's got my fat rack on it, and it's got some EQ. That's really weird EQ. The mids, or like the low mids, felt a little bit weird in the stereo, so I cut that out here too. But this is just a fairly basic quarter note bass. But without it, it just does not sound like it really hits. So I did do the distorty sub thing here, as you can hear. That's a big one. What did I do? What is this? Okay. I don't remember doing this. It is a square wave with a sine with a lot of sync on it, a noise distorted, then put through a vocoder, then through a gate, and 3 OTTs. I'm telling you, the process of making the song was a blur. Like, it was one of those sessions where everything was just flowing, and I was doing this thing, and this thing, and this thing, and it just kind of came together. Except for the intro. I did that after I did everything else, where I added like the cool vocals and stuff. But everything else was just kind of me going just in the flow state. So I showed that, I showed this. What is this? I think this is one of the, I have two ARPs that are panning left and right, but opposite from each other. So as one's on the left, the other's on the right, and they'll just like go in and out from each other. And this is an offbeat thing that's from my Berserk remix. I just took the same sound, automated it a little bit differently, I think. But yeah, that offbeat gives a really important effect. Like without it, it just feels too straight. It gives you a little bit of like a, I don't know, it just flows better when it's got something else on the offbeats like that. I think this is my, I made this growl in 2018, and I don't remember how I made it, and it makes me really sad, because I want to make more like him. Like, it was a real good one. Oh, I filtered it out, too, at the very end of the sample. You can see it there. Because I wanted it to sound like it was fading out. Because it's at a part of the song where the growl plays on its own, and so I wanted it to sound like it cuts out so that the rest of the song can cut back in, if that makes any sense. And so it's like, you got this growl that's like fading out, the rest is like fading back in, because it's like an effect thing, because the rest of the song doesn't really have growls. See what I mean? So where's the thing that sweeps it in? Here it is. That's it. I made this little thing probably 2018 as well. It's just a little clip of like a synth that it's reversed and like leads into it. I just use that to lead into sections a lot. It's very subtle sonically, but it gives the effect of like your brain is able to process it and realize what's happening. Like, hey, something's coming up, even if you're not really like hearing it, if that makes sense. Like that little tease into a section, I think creates a really cool effect. Like if I take it out, I think there's still a drum reverse hit. Yeah, there is. If I take out the drum reverse hit and this other sound, you'll see it just doesn't really feel the same. Now you can totally notice that. What am I saying about it being subconscious? But kind of brings it in. There's that vocal. I don't know if I showed that yet. That was also a Splice sample. I didn't do much to it if I remember correctly. Okay. I OTT'd it, put some reverb on it, cut the extreme lows out. I think the auto pan doesn't happen until the end. I've got this like normal one. 'Cause I just want to. Where it's the normal key, like pitch, and then this one pitched up an octave, I think. This is an effect that I put in the vocal that I put in the middle of the drop. Vocoder on this one. And then this one is just pitched on its own, I think. Any advice on how you achieve and maintain flow state? Man, I'm real bad at that. I guess when I really think about it, it's about eliminating distractions and allowing yourself time to work on music, solely focused on music long enough to get into that state. It's not something where you can just sit down and just be there. You have to intentionally build yourself an environment conducive to being in the flow state. And so a big thing of that is eliminating distractions, not really using your phone, not doing other tasks while you work on music. Just setting down time, being like, I'm going to work on music with this time and do nothing, think about nothing else. I remember I made a lot of this song in a hotel. I was vacationing to Louisiana with my family, and we were in a hotel room. We had a lot of downtime, weren't really doing much. I just sat down on my computer and just worked on this song for like at least a couple hours, I think. And in like one of the mornings when we weren't really doing much with family. And so I wasn't really focused on anything else. I was out of school, so I didn't have to focus on that. But just build yourself an environment where you're not worried about anything but working on music. And that's mostly important in the very beginning stages when you sit down to work. Because as time goes on, it'll be much easier to... once you're already in that state, you're not going to want to get distracted. The beginning is the hard part where you're like looking for things to distract you from making music. But really being focused is what gets you into that state. Who needs hi-hats when you have basses for the offbeat? I have both. Beat that, dude. Beat that. But I think I already showed the drums. I did. Oh, wow. It's already 11:04 over here, at least. I will try to wrap things up pretty quickly. I think I showed all the essentials already and the drops and stuff. What is this? That's me.
Let's kill it.
That's one of the things from that same sample I showed earlier. Just
let's get it. Let's
oh, I spliced two together. And so I had the let's kill it. I took the let's, and I had one that I just said, wait. The let's from the let's get it, sorry. And then the kill it was a completely different one. So I just put them together and made let's kill it.
Let's kill it!
And then a vocoded version. Similar to what I did in the very beginning of the song. It's got a really cool glitchy thingy on it. Oh, marimba fills. That I put a lot of thickness on. What is this formant? I put a formant filter on it. I'm telling you, dude, when you get into the flow state and you're working on a song, you're just not remembering what you're doing, you're just doing stuff. And it is the best feeling ever. Like, it's cool going back into this project because I'm forgetting a lot of the like processes I had when I was working on, like, thought processes I had working on this song, but revisiting it is like showing me a bunch of new weird things. Like, I would not normally just put a formant filter on a marimba. Like, I was like, I'm just going to try this, see what it works, and then I'm going to put distortion on it and that kind of thing. That's not something I normally do. This song was just like a flow state song, which was really fun. But yeah, I tried a ton of things that I don't normally do and that are just really unorthodox in this song. Like, making a frequency shifter the main part of the sound is not something I usually do. But my brain was like, let's do it. So I did it. And I just didn't question it. It's weird. But second drop is almost the exact same as the first. Second half is definitely the exact same. There's just a duplicate of this one that's a little bit faster with some slightly different automations. Same thing where I've got those like chops. Yeah, it's like the same thing, just with different automations, really, is the second drop. But we're already at 7 minutes over. That's the exact same. Outro is very simple. You definitely had to have a higher power behind the wheel to put a formant on a marimba, and it sounds so much better. I don't know why I did that. That's what I'm saying. I don't put formant filters on marimbas. That's just not a thing that I'm in the habit of doing. It does bring out one of those harmonics. It's like the 7th of the key, it sounds like. Please start streaming. I've been streaming this whole time. Even like consistently streaming as I work on music. Maybe. I'll consider it. But this is a really fun part of the song. It's very similar to the trance section before, but something that really gives it its effect is it starts to build and then completely cuts out and like slaps you in the face again. This was so much fun. Like, this synth line is going all over the place. And the bass line too was really fun. It's just gliding all over the place. I took a lot of fine tuning on the EQ to make sure that these high notes came across. Did I automate it? I did. I automated the EQ to make sure these high notes weren't really being stifled by the EQing that I did on the sound. The EQ turns off whenever it goes to the high notes because it was interfering with the fundamentals of those notes. Yeah, but it was really fun. Portamento, ladies and gentlemen. Same thing as before. But yeah, a lot of the same instruments, just different chord progression. Something that's really fun about this that I don't do often, usually I'll stay on the 1 of this scale, but this stays on the 6 as like the main home bass. Like that's the 6 of this scale. That's the 7. That's the 1, because it's in G minor. So that's normally where I'd be sitting, but I stayed here for most of this section, and it gives it a really cool, like, contrasting feel. Because in the earlier part, it stays on that G for most of it. But here it sits on the, what is this? The D sharp a lot. But yeah, I'll show off what I did at the very end, and that's the song, really. There's these things at the end. This washout basically just fades out the vocal at the very end of the song. But this auto pan is doing a really cool effect as well. What it's doing, I don't need the device on. All you need to know is that it turns on at the end. I guess you don't need the amount either. Oh, it starts like turn on here. Okay, frequency. That's the main thing. So this auto pan, usually what auto pan is meant to do is pan a sound left to right. But when you turn this phase all the way down to 0, the left and the right are exactly in phase with each other, meaning they like phase in and out together. So you're really just getting volume automation. There's no difference between the left and the right. And so... 'Cause I just want to hold you. The reason you're kind of getting that weird pitch shifting effect near the end here is because it's so stretched. I stretched it out really stupidly long. Like if I turn those off. Sounds really funny on its own. But yeah. What would you say to people who are hopping on melodic rhythm sound because it's hot right now, who are trying to make a name for themselves? I want to say have fun, but that's real cheesy. Let me think of something with more substance. Well, have fun really is like the root of it. It sounds cheesy and stupid, but have fun like crafting your own sound. Like it could be the whole melodic thing, it could be something completely different. Combine a lot of the different influences you have in your the musical part of your life, whether it be from things like music you listen to in the car when you're with your parents, or like the things you would like listening to as a kid. Just like combine all of those different things and make your own style of, could be dubstep, could be literally anything else. I really enjoyed the game Dance Dance Revolution as a kid. That was probably my first introduction to electronic music. And so I've got elements of that in there. I was in marching band in high school. I played the marimba. Well, I didn't play the marimba in high school. I played it in high school, but not in marching band. Anyway, I was around those instruments a lot. I put that in my music. My dad listened to a lot of rock and metal when I was growing up. I put that kind of influence in my music. My mom was more into hip hop and gospel. I put that in my music. Combine all of your influences, diversify what you listen to, so you're able to put all of that into maybe dubstep in this example if you want to make the melodic rhythm sort of thing. But just make it your own. In any subgenre, in any genre, I think it can be really easy to exclusively listen to what you find interesting or you really enjoy. I am guilty of this all the time, like listening to melodic rhythm type music. And when you do that, it can very easily become this like echo chamber of same soundingness. I think this honestly has kind of happened with like the rhythm scene already. But what really keeps the music evolving and going forward and changing is bringing in inspiration and elements from other styles of music that are just your own and putting it in there. Then other people hear that, they make it their own. It's just adapted upon over and over. So for anyone that's looking to do the melodic rhythm thing, obviously learn like how you can make your basses sound like chords and stuff like that. But what really is at the heart of it is like making it your own and having fun with it. But that's what I'd say to anyone trying to do that style of music. Ace or a polyrhythm when? I made a joke, a joke tweet / video where I made a knockoff version of polyrhythm that sounded really, really stupid. I'm not going to be able to find the project for that. It's on my social media somewhere, and it's on my Instagram feed, like in the posts somewhere. You are a literal genius. Learned so much from these 2 hours. I don't think I'd say I'm a genius. I at least don't feel like a genius. I just like making dubstep. Like, yeah, I don't know. But yeah, that's Cyber Cuddle. And that was Rise. Anyone have any last minute questions before I call it here and tell you to have a good rest of your night? Because you better. It's not an option. You got to do it. I'll have to find that. Yeah, it's there somewhere. It was over the summer. It was around when Polyrhythm was released. So, what am I doing? As if I was about to like try to find it. It's somewhere. It's on my Instagram. I saw it like a few days ago. We love you. Aw, thanks. Thank you. I love doing these workshops. Like, this is the 3rd one I've done, and every time I do a workshop, I learn more about my own production process. Because every time I make a song, it's slightly different, and every time period I make a song I'm focusing on something different. And so here, I think I was focusing mostly on sound design and branching out with that. And going back through this old sound helped me remember cool techniques that I had found out and forgotten about, stuff like that. So I got probably just as much, if not more, out of this than you guys did. I finally get to see how you work. Yeah, we've been friends for so long, and we just never like made music side by side. That needs to change. You debating on getting a side software job? No. I don't want to. Okay, so if my financial situation doesn't work out just doing music stuff alone, then I will look for that as an option. But I'm trying to go all in, honestly. Like, computer science degree, it was... So, like, computer science stuff is kind of fun and interesting, but honestly, the process of getting the degree was such a grind and, like, going through school, and it kind of made me, like, kind of put me off from wanting to get a job in that industry. If I need to, I'll look for something there, brush up on my coding skills and that kind of thing, but I just want to go all in with music. That's where my heart is. That's what I'm going to try. Just wanted to say thank you so much, Ace, for all your incredible work. You may not consider yourself a genius, but know your music definitely makes us feel. Aw, that's the goal. To express my own feels, and hopefully it translates to other people. He has a couple feedback streams here weekly. Yeah. If you just subscribe to Defier and stuff, I do streams here on Saturdays and Sundays, as long as I'm not like playing a show or out or something. But that's a consistent thing that I do. So if you want feedback from me and to be able to submit your music and like get my thoughts on it, you should consider that. It's neat. Mega neat. All right. I think that was all of the questions. Oh, thank you, Brock. Yeah, if I ever need like help in that area, I'll definitely hit you up. Especially for inspiring words of wisdom and knowledge. Aw. Thanks for having us. Of course. Thanks for being here, allowing me an opportunity to share the knowledge and stuff. But I believe that's all I got. Yeah, it's 11:19. It's been almost 2.5 hours. That went real fast. But yeah, thanks everyone for joining. I hope you got a lot out of it. And I will see y'all later. Adios.